Hey, Team Prosperity Partners. This is Rocco Cilio back here with another brief training. And what I wanted to talk about for the next few minutes is some compensation possibilities that only happen through duplication. And our organization is built on team building. Um, a few people getting involved, showing a few others how to do the same thing, and just keep duplicating that process over and over again. And you pick your head up, and before you know it, you have a business that will be paying you for years to come through leverage. So, what I want to do first, though, is just set things up properly here. Duplication works based on activity that we do. And our goal for a brand new associate that comes aboard is we want to teach them how to get into our performance club right out of the gate, and maintaining performance club using the same method of fast start qualification ensures the growth of your team and income. So if somebody does fast start qualify, we teach the 3-in-1 method, where there's 3 memberships, and one of those memberships also decides to become an associate in the business as well. So 3-in-1 is the method that we teach. That helps fast start qualification if it's done within the first 20 days. And then if we can keep doing that on a monthly basis over and over again, well, that associate will stay in what we call our performance club, giving them their points that they need each month to qualify for their BMW bonus and the recognition and everything else, possible vacations and that sort of thing. But the idea here is that once we can teach an individual how to get on Performance Club and stay there, that's the system, that's the formula that now they can turn around and reach behind them and have the next individual do the same thing. So we've used some assumptions here, but these might be not exact. The Prospect by Legal Shield app works when the contacts entered have opted into a campaign. So we use the word opt-in. We're talking about folks who agree to receive the information the system is trying to send them. They click on a button after they get that initial email to agree to get the information. So a reasonable opt-in rate, we say for the first month, will be a little bit higher because we're still dealing with the warm market. So 40% is a reasonable opt-in rate. And then the conversion rate for a prospect there should be 10% on members and 2% conversion rate for an opportunity campaign. So what we're saying there is that if you put 10 membership prospects in, that they're getting information just on the membership on Legal Shield, that 1 out of those 10 will convert. And on the recruiting side of things, where we're putting most of our energy, the conversion rate is lower, but the opportunity is much larger. So it'll take about 1 out of every 50 that actually will convert into a recruit, and that's where we come up with the 2%, the 2% number there. So total monthly opt-ins needed for Performance Club, you want to try and shoot for a bare minimum target of at least 20 in the membership campaign. And at least 50 into the opportunity campaign. And that winds up coming out to be 5 per day minimum exposures. So that's what we want to make sure that we're teaching, is making sure that we have 5 people a day opting into a campaign. And again, that can be done on an extremely part-time basis. You've already probably started to discover that if you're watching this video. So let's just recap what the first 20 days could look like. If we get that fast start qualification done, it can happen in the first day, but certainly within the first 20 days. It'll take about 100 exposures using our 50 opt-ins to find that recruit, and 40 membership exposures, which will lead to 20 opt-ins, essentially giving you what you need to fast start qualify. So there's you, underneath of you, you have a brand new recruit, and the total income that you receive is $300, and you have a total of 3 members. Now, as I start to go through what happens here through duplication, I want you to understand that this is based in theory. There's no obvious guarantees how any of this will work out. As a matter of fact, the likelihood of everybody staying consistent and duplicating wouldn't happen. But when we get to the end, and you could see here over the next few slides of what this could essentially look like, whether this happens in 7 months or even 5 years, it's certainly worth it. But what we need to be sold out on is the concept of doing this same thing over and over again every single month. Exactly what you see right here on this screen. This is part-time. This is what we can get to duplicate. Some will and some won't, but if you are able to get others to buy in to duplicate this same process, wait till you see what could happen. Because all they're going to do is the same exact thing. We're never going to ask anybody to do any more than what our minimums are. Now, some might do more than that, and that's great. Others unfortunately, probably aren't going to do anything. And that's part of the process. So this is a very what if scenario that I'm about to present to you. This is the next few slides are going to assume that every person that comes aboard duplicates the same exact efforts that you do on a monthly basis. So as we move to the next slide here, that will bring us into month number 2. So we get past Fast Start qualification, and now we're in month number 2. Well, all you're going to do now is this: you've been promoted to the senior associate level, but you're going to go out and do the same exact activity that we showed on the previous slide. You're going to get the same number of opt-ins for both your recruiting as well as your members. And now all of a sudden, you're going to have an income that's going to increase from 300 to 360 on your personal production because you've gotten yourself promoted. In addition to that, because your brand new associate from your Fast Start period has duplicated what you've done, now you have the ability to earn $60 in overrides from the production that he's done. So now your total income for month number 2 is $420. That will come from 6 memberships, but you have a total of 9 organizational memberships when you combine what you did the previous month or during your Fast Start period there. So I want you to keep following these examples as they roll out here. Again, this is constantly assuming that now you have 3 folks on the team, that they're all going to duplicate the same amount of activity and get the same exact results for the next month. And you start to see what the power of duplication can look like. So now, along the way, you're going to have the ability in the same month, in month number 3, through the total production of the team, you'll have some memberships where you're paid at the senior associate level. And then you'll also have some memberships where you're paid at the manager level because you've wound up giving yourself a promotion. So to stay conservative here, I gave all of your personal production at the senior associate level. So same thing as last month. 3 times 120 gives you $360. Now your associate overrides, you can see there you have a new associate on the team from the previous month there, and they've gotten their organization moving and duplicated what you did when you were an associate, and you'll earn $60 there off of their 3 memberships. Now you see a little bit of hiccup here in the food chain when you see that there's a senior associate level where you're not making anything in overrides from. And the reality is that that's because that organization is actually producing 6 memberships. Okay, so I want to be clear. There's 6 memberships coming out of there, but 3 of them are going to happen most likely when you're still a senior associate yourself. And there's no difference in the compensation there. So there is no override when you're a senior associate and somebody's at the same exact level at senior associate as well. However, along the way, you'll be promoted to manager within that month. And you will pick up additional overrides from that senior associate level when you're a manager, which comes out to be $60. Okay, so just want to make sure that we're clear there. There will be some instances, especially in the beginning, when you have some folks that are duplicating the same exact thing that you're doing every month, where you'll bump into each other in the compensation plan. It's normal. It's part of the process. You need to embrace it, because the idea here is to get folks that are better than you involved anyway. So you'll even do better if somebody winds up outpacing you where it doesn't look like you're ever going to catch them. But trust me, it all comes back to you. So the total income suggested here for month number 3 will come in at $480. Now, the organization went out and did 12 memberships. Okay, that's total for that month. But you've accumulated a total of 21 now total since inception for your organization. And again, this is just assuming that the team is duplicating and doing the same exact amount of effort, 3 and 1 every single month. 3 memberships, one of them becoming an associate. Everybody on the team keeps doing that, and the organization continues to grow. So now let's take a look at month number 4, where you've gotten yourself to manager. There is you're clearly there at that point based on how the promotions work. So you've created some good spread. And the beauty is that you're doing your 3 and 1, but where you were making $300 as a brand new associate for your 3 and 1, now you're making $420, right? That's 3 memberships with one of them becoming a recruit. Each one of those memberships is worth $140. You also have an associate leg of business. You can see we've put it as an A there in the little circles down there, but that associate leg of business is going to produce their 3 and 1 as well. And you're fortunate enough to now be earning a $40 override on each one of those, bringing you out to $120. You also have your senior associate overrides, and that's a combination right there of what you're looking at from both of those senior associate circles, where one of them, just like you had a month there where you were senior associate and promoted to manager within the same month, because your team is duplicating, you're going to see the same exact things. So when that first senior associate there on the far left circle winds up getting themselves promoted to manager, which will happen, 9 of those memberships are going to be at the same level as you. And again, there is no override for that, but you will get the first 9 memberships that you'll override for them when they are still at a senior associate. So the total income there, it comes out to be $720 for that month. Your monthly memberships have now gone up and they've doubled from 12 the previous month to now 24. And just as importantly, we're keeping an eye out for the total memberships in your organizations cumulatively, because that's how you get promoted. And now you're up to 45 and knocking on the door of your next promotion. So as we move here into month number 5, and again, this is just assuming that everybody is doing, I keep going back to the phrase 3 in 1, 3 memberships with one of them becoming a recruit. The discipline of trying to find enough people that will continue to do that over and over again will pay you a fortune. So let's take a look at what can actually happen in month number 5. Everybody is now duplicating at the same exact level. Your income is going up. Where you started at in month number 1, your fast start qualification period, you made $300. And here we are just 5 months later, you're only doing the same amount of work that you did on month number 1. You're still only doing your 3 in 1. And you can see here the total income is $1,760. And you can see how the overrides add up. And I'll break it down, but I want to pause for a second and ask you to take your eyes off the screen and just and listen to what I'm saying here for a second, because the power of this business is that we like to think that if we can find a way to help somebody with minimum amount of time, and the production that we're talking about is so minimum here. But if we tell them we can hopefully get them up to somewhere around $700 to $1,000 a month by their 3rd, 4th, or 5th month in the business, most people are ecstatic for that. Most people are okay with $500 or $600, especially if they're only doing 5 to 7 hours a week. And that's all the work that we're talking about here. So what I'm saying is that here, this is showing constant duplication, bringing all the way out to month number 5. But what if it took a year to get to this target? What if it took 2 years to get to $1,760? The reality is it's still worth it, because even if nobody else is committed, and even if it's just you out there doing the work and you find 1 or 2 other people to participate, you're still going to be hitting that mark of over $500 a month on a very part-time basis. You see, people will get aboard and then they'll quit. Other people will get aboard and then they'll quit. But the reality is, as long as you keep doing the 3 in 1 and following that system, you're never going to make less than you need to make it worth your while on a monthly basis, right? And eventually this stuff will fall in line. When you're at the manager level, you'll do your 3 in 1, and each one of those 3 memberships is worth $140, and you have 420. And your associate overrides, you'll make them both when you're at the manager level and the senior manager level. Two of them will be paid out. And this is assumptions, but 2 of those will be paid out at the manager level, giving you $80. One of them will be paid out at the senior manager level for $60. And then you have your senior associate overrides. And because that senior associate organization is duplicating, now you have 18 counters coming out of that line of business that are worth $40 each, giving you $720. And then the manager override, and this is the very first person that you recruited that's just following in your footsteps of exactly what you're doing. If they're duplicating your efforts, they wind up in a position where 24 counters are coming out of their organization, times 20, giving 480. So the next month is where we really start to see some significant results. But before we move on to that slide, again, look at the total monthly memberships. We are knocking on the door for executive director, because we know executive director is 50 memberships a month organizationally. Now it needs to be spread out, and you could see here all these lines of business are producing, so we're covered there. But what also has to happen is that we have to make sure that we hit the director level first before we can go to executive director, which doesn't happen until we have 100 total organizational counters. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at what month number 6 could potentially look like if everybody involved just kept on duplicating their efforts. And then we see here the duplication happening at a more compounded rate. The numbers are getting larger, is what I mean to say. And we now wind up in a position where we start out with as being a senior manager in that month. We know we're still a few counters away from hitting director, so we do our 3 and 1. We make our $480, and then we have a few associate overrides, 3 that will come into us at director level, which is $90 for each one of those, because we'll have made it to director by the time that those associate production counters come in, and that's $270. Senior associate overrides at both the senior manager level and the director level, 4 at the senior manager level and 14 at the director level. You can see $160 for the senior manager level we'll make, and then $980 at the director level. The manager overrides that we'll make at the director level, 24 counters times 50, $50 for each one of those counters. That's worth $1,200 to us. And then senior manager overrides at the director level, because the first person that you recruited is going through that same progression, and they're gonna hit their senior manager position as well. But look at the amount of counters. That's an organization now that did exactly what you did the previous month. They're at 48 counters, and they're knocking on the door the following month for executive director. Okay, but they have to do the same thing that you did. Now, the income that you'll make on those counters could potentially be $1,440. Now your income has jumped from a little over $1,700 to now $4,530 in 1 month. But the beauty of this is that you didn't do any more work. You simply just went out and did the same thing. You're 3 and 1. And you have a team, 47 team members have now been duplicating exactly what you do each month. It's really hard to grasp and get your mind around this, but this is why I'm in this business, is because I know over time I'll find enough people that will come to the table and see this is just simply math. And the way that it works out is you just go out and you find those that are committed. And there'll be twists and turns and everything else that comes along the way, but sooner or later, this stuff will come together if we're committed and people can see light at the end of the tunnel. So it's really what I'm trying to do in this presentation here is just try and show what could it look like? What could the end actually look like? And along the way, what do the wins look like for us? So now you can see here, we wound up with 96 monthly memberships. And we know that when you exceed 50, you're going to start out the following month qualified as an executive director with Legal Shield. And the level advancement in the compensation is now just off the charts. So let's take a look at what could possibly happen now that you've achieved the executive director level position and the entire organization from your very first month duplicating exactly what you did each month, 3 and 1, 3 and 1, 3 and 1. Well, you now, right, you're 3 and 1. And your compensation now moves to $840 personal off of your 3 and 1. Your director overrides. You have now an organization that did 96 counters underneath of you, and each one of those are worth $90 because they have yet to achieve the senior director position or the executive director position. So you've created a $90 override in the compensation. And that's really important to pay attention to, because your level, you wind up skipping this in this example because you went right to the 50. And when you hit the director position, you skip 2 levels at once. And that allowed for a huge spread for things to happen in your organization for this month number 7. Now, the following month, the income, believe it or not, might go down a little bit because that first line of business is going to qualify executive director themselves. And then, you got to start looking into breakaway bonuses, which we're not going to go into here. But there's more money that's always paid out at that level. In addition to that, the rest of the organization is moving right along, just as you did when you were at the senior manager and had an organization producing 48 counters. Your overrides from that production come out to be $5,760. Manager overrides $3,360, and senior associate overrides $1,920. And then the associate overrides is 3 times 180, giving you another $540. And you've expanded your business in a way that you've basically created financial freedom for yourself. And the total monthly income could possibly be $21,060. I know it says month number 7 on here, and that's probably not going to become close to a reality. But just imagine for a second if you could go out and find enough people that would be committed to a process of 3-in-1, making those simple exposures on a daily basis, communicating with 5 people a day who agree to look at information on the web or through a video that we use with Prospect by Legal Shield. It's 5 exposures a day. And I think that if everybody understood what would be possible if they just did their 5 exposures a day, those people who would be looking at the information, if they understood that this kind of opportunity was as real as it is, more people would be committed to doing that activity. But the problem is because they can't see what the end result could potentially look like, they will usually give up much faster without knowing what the results could be. So this month, the 7th month here on this slide, starts out with a team of 94 people. But if you finish out the calendar year, you go another 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months. And after the 12th month, if everybody kept duplicating, that team of 94 turns into 6,016. And at that point, obviously, financial freedom is well outside that's the last thing that you're worrying about is money at that point. It's happened for you. So anyway, I hope that this short training was helpful. And I don't know how many times I said it here, but I know don't expect for this to have, if you're brand new, this is most likely not going to be a reality. But if you keep on punching in every single day with your Legal Shield business and concentrating on doing your 5 exposures a day, and the majority of your exposures are on the opportunity side of things, and you are committed to Performance Club and being part of the 3-in-1 train, that's what people will see when they come in. They're going to follow. They're going to want to know what to do, and they're going to what you do is how your new person is going to be trained, and that's how we get duplication to happen. So appreciate everybody taking a look here, and I look forward to your success story, and we'll talk to everybody again soon. Thanks.